Good morning again, and we have the pleasure of the wonderful Lani Morris again. Lovely to see you, Lannis, and I'm
to be here.
really looking forward to discussing the wonderful tool, the Map of Meaning, and how it can be used from a one-on-one coach's mentor level. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely, because this is one of the ways we've found it to be such an incredibly useful tool. And you know, there are many good tools out there, but one of the things we've found about the Map of Meaning is that it cuts to the heart of the matter really quickly, because what makes our life meaningful is the thing, in a sense, that connects us with life.
Yes.
The thing that, you know, I often think it's a bit like a plug. When life isn't meaningful, it's like we're wandering around disconnected, and the minute we find it meaningful, like someone we love is coming to stay and we go, oh, must tidy the house, or,
yes.
or you know, that we suddenly realise that the work we're doing made a difference to somebody, it's like we connect, and at that moment we get all this energy. So it's an incredibly important thing for us to be mindful of and able to be in charge of ourselves. So when people are working with others, so coaches, counsellors, mentors, careers advisors and managers, and they're dealing with issues which could be called motivation or career advice or anything that's to do, what this does, performance, absolutely. This gets to the heart of what's really important to people. And it doesn't tell you, or doesn't tell them what is important, it just gives the framework on which they can make their own decisions. So,
which is empowering.
Absolutely. So the framework's the same for, as far as we can see, for people, but their interpretation is their own.
How can managers have this tool without being too touchy-feely?
Well, certainly in organisations it's wonderful, because you know, I think there have been certainly numbers of experiments with trying to get people to sort of be open and reveal and be in touch with their emotions, and it's often been extremely uncomfortable for everybody involved.
Yes.
And what this does is it gets to the heart of the matter, but in an incredibly practical way. So sometimes in a workshop that I've been doing, someone might cry, but it's just out of recognising something. It's not an intense thing, and they don't have to talk about it to anybody. It's for themselves. But when they recognise it, excuse me, they can then see what to do about it, because it's all on the map. You balance and you can reorder out there on the map. The answers are there for you, and of course, once you've got them, which is what you're also alluding to, is you're in charge. You can then go on, because the other thing about meaning is what was meaningful this week may not be meaningful next week. So meaning changes over time. So we may have consistent meaning. So people of faith may often have, for example, in the centre in inspiration, God, and they might be doing God's work, which would be how they'd interpret it, which would make absolutely no sense to an atheist at all. But they've got something that at the heart of things is inspiring, and it might be being a good person, or you know, it might be doing good, or being committed to the world's well-being.
And so the world can challenge that.
Absolutely.
So they need to be able to align that with the map, because the world is quite challenging.
The reality for all of us is really confronting at times.
Yes.
I've had people who've just said, this is the tool I use all the time. I've had other people who say, this is the tool I use at the beginning of any consultation, because it gets to the heart of things.
Diagnostically.
Absolutely. It allows people to go, okay, what's going on now?
Yes.
And actually, what is profoundly important to me in all these dimensions, in all the dimensions of the map. And then it also allows people to go from there to plan, to go, how do I sort that, and how do I go ahead? And often those answers just appear really easily for them. So there was a lovely case, for example, with a woman who said to me, you know, I'm thinking of leaving my job, and we just worked with the map, and she said, oh right, that's really interesting. She went back, she thought about it more, and she contacted me a couple of months later, and she said, oh, it's been amazing. She said, I could see just when we were talking what was going on, which was that I wasn't fulfilled in any of these dimensions, so I just was sulking. And what I did was to get a little roadshow together, go and tell all the other parts of the organisation what I do. They got inspired because I was inspired. I could show them how I could help them in service to others. On the way, I met a lot of people I really found fascinating that I didn't know, so I had fabulous lunches. That's unity with others. She said, I developed myself because I'm actually quite a shy person, and I had to have the courage to develop some, to grow as a person. And actually, I'm able to use my skills because I'm really good at what I do, and up until now, nobody knew that. So she said, I'm just loving my job, and nobody recognises me because I'm not being a positive person, but I'm just so positive now because it's
so she was
exciting.
able to reach all her personal goals from
Absolutely.
using that tool.
Now look, there's another example which I think is really interesting, particularly in an organisational context, and this is really important for managers, I think, where someone said when they were looking at it, you know what happened? I lost unity because the person I had loved working with went and they weren't replaced, so suddenly I'm on my own. With that went a lack of confidence under the developing self. My skills went down and I wasn't able to serve as much as I wanted to. And then she looked at somebody else in the room and she said, and then you came, and it was like the unity was back, I got confidence, I was able to develop my skills, we worked like a dream, and our unit is now outperforming any others.
That's amazing.
And so you can see the cyclical effect and the sort of knock-on effect of when one area in our life starts to lose meaning, that we lose it often in all areas.
And we don't get the time to sit and diagnose it, as you were saying.
Well, we don't have a tool for diagnosing it. In fact, fundamentally what we do is complain and sulk.
Yes.
Which is, no blame, totally human and totally reasonable if you don't have a way out. And what the map is, it's a simple way out for us as individuals to use, but also for managers, because they are constantly destroying meaning in the organisation. They break up teams. I mean, that have been working really well because they want it would be more efficient to have half the team somewhere else. And then the team is never that efficient again because they loved working together. So when we're talking about meaning, we're talking at the deepness of people. And I think it's a thing which needs the utmost respect. And ideally we need to know what we're doing there. And after 13 years of working with the map and many years before that struggling around in the field of meaning on my own trying to make sense of things, I do bring a huge amount of experience and knowledge to it.
But without the fluff. That's what I admire about you. You get the cut through, but I walk away with something tangible.
Well, that's what the map does. You know, I think the map brings us to practical outcomes in remarkably short time.
Yes, it's amazing. It's amazing, Lani. And again, it's always wonderful to have you.
Oh, it's a wonderful joy to talk to you.
Thank
and
you,
wonderful
Lani.
to talk about the map, I must admit.